Good morning, everybody. Ain't that beautiful? Wow. There I spot somebody else. So we're ahead of the game today with the sunrise. And ahead of the game in the world is love and fidelity, despite all the setbacks for humanity. And that's a very big, evident piece of today's words in the scriptures. And we can surely say with the Psalm 111, the Lord will remember his covenant forever. And it's not just future tense, it's present tense. The Lord remembers his covenant forever. That's just the way it is. That's the way the Lord is. Faithful to the covenant. And that's what the human heart longs for. We referred the other day to the couple in their romance, I will be faithful to you until the moon fails. And the moon goes through its cycles, but it never fails. And there it looks like we have a half moon today, more perfected than the last 2 days. The Lord remembers his covenant forever. We long for that fidelity. We long for that truthfulness, that authenticity. And that's what makes a child's life secure. Those parents who call their child into existence like God does, and they are faithful to the child, and that's why they will always stand for the good of the child and can't tolerate any evil happening to the child, whether it be a health issue, a social issue, a studies issue, a nourishment issue, a safety on the roads issue, proper clothing issue. The parents' guiding goal is simply the fidelity to their child, to give the child the best. And that's coming from being in the image and likeness of God. Nothing less. Nothing less. That's our rock foundation. And there we have Mount Hermon again on this very crisp morning, 9 degrees Celsius. Clear morning. So let's come here halfway between, well, just a little bit to the right of those leaves in the center of the screen now. The screen doesn't do it justice what I see here, but you can see something shining there on the right side of Mount Hermon. You have quite a bit of Mount Hermon on the screen there, occupying the center just beyond this hill in the foreground. Good. The Lord remembers his covenant forever. Totally faithful to his covenant. Always faithful. And that's why the whole mystery of redemption unfolds because He is faithful to His creation covenant. He created us, He called us into life, and He instructed us for life. And in our brokenness, we've fallen away, an increasing brokenness. And the Lord remembers His covenant forever. He keeps coming at us, He keeps coming back to us, He keeps helping us to, orienting us. And there's great instruction today in the letter to the Hebrews, because it's also precisely remembering that people are getting discouraged. They're getting, let's say, there's a little bit of air out of their wheels. They're getting a bit soft and without any direction, any determination. And life is getting boring, it's getting dissatisfying, and they're losing their steam, losing their enthusiasm, losing the fullness of life that was given to them. And the letter to the Hebrews is rebuilding them in times that are hard. And it's appealing to awareness of God's covenant. Remember God's covenant and how our hope is anchored. There's a lot of language in there. You really need the Hebrew scriptures to get it, and also the liturgical practice at the temple, because we have an anchor behind the veil. The veil is in front of the divine presence, and the high priest goes in once a year in the temple in Jerusalem. But then yesterday we were getting more deeply into the meaning of Christ's priesthood and gift in that context of temple imagery, and how He penetrated beyond the veil, and He is our high priest. And has made definitive atonement, because He is true God and true man. He is the eternal Word made flesh. And He is truly God, so that infinite love. And He is truly human flesh, born of woman. And therefore it's human nature entering that veil and entering for that salvation. And so we have an anchor behind the veil. How many boats were here in rocky moments, and they were happy to have an anchor to hold the boat fixed in a very windy situation at the port of Magdala. And this great sacred religious tradition has prepared the minds of Jesus' followers to understand, to wrestle with the gift of Christ that they have experienced, His death and resurrection, His definitive, ultimate, total forgiveness, and the triumph over death and sin and hatred. And this is really worth everything. And at the end of the day, there's only two realities that remain, and that is God and us. And God is totally focused on us. If there's a whole big disaster, look at all the disasters in Los Angeles, in the fires, I'm sure the first thing the parents did was secure the safety of the babies. I actually was in a house that was right beside another house going on fire, and the first thing the couple did was the mom took the little baby right out of the house down the narrow stairs. It was in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, many years ago in the mid-90s. Wow, the birds never stop coming here, doing their morning procession. And then we move on to the gospel reading, and we have the same reordering of things, that it's about God's relationship to us And the practices that we have, the religious practices and norms, their purpose is to serve our holiness, to serve our communion with God, to serve our life, that our life flourishes. And a powerful statement of that is that the man was not made for the Sabbath, as much as we wanted to respect the Sabbath, the day of the Lord, to keep the day of the Lord holy. But the Sabbath was made for man. And this puts a huge reordering of reality, because sometimes we can make things more important than they are. And we can neglect higher priorities over lower ones. Like the famous looking for separating the little speck out of the soup but swallowing a camel. It's the same idea. Let's focus on the essential things, which is love. To love each person, to respect each person, especially the most defenseless and poor, the most exposed and in danger. So here we have a huge call today in the readings to focus the greatness of the human being. And we are called to rise to a level of fidelity in no matter what the difficulties are. And we're capable of doing that. God is giving us that grace, that strength, that guidance, that ability. And sometimes there are very bitter moments to endure. And the appeal to Abraham is very interesting. The scriptures teaching us to ponder the lives of the saints, of the great heroes who have walked before us, and to ponder his fidelity, his perseverance, his hope as a model for ours. Years and years and years waiting for God's hope. Very deep, profound, heroic obedience to God's call. Detachment from all where he was. Leave your land and go. And this shows us how we can become faithful. It inspires us. Concrete examples inspires much more than a very intelligent talk, a very passionate talk. To see people's lives who are remaining faithful. To see the life of the community of disciples over thousands of years remaining faithful. So we can also keep our covenants, the word we give. Well prepared, prudently expressed, committing ourselves, rising to the greatness that we can impose through God's grace, and decision and commitment of love forever. People, God bless you. See you later, alligators. Let's keep praying for peace. It needs prayer. Every day counts. In the relationships, in keeping the truth, in keeping fidelity, in keeping the covenants made. That's a blessing for humanity. We're all involved with each other, helping each other to develop that culture of fidelity to the agreed. God bless you. See you later, alligators.